Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and what I have for you today is my review of the LG 65-inch QNED 8GA. This is a mini LED TV with dimming zone. It's a fairly slim TV. It's got a 4K panel with support for Dolby Vision, HDR10 and HLG. And it has a refresh rate of 144 Hz maximum. If you connect a PS5 or an Xbox Series X, you can take advantage of the 120 Hz mode on these consoles, simply because all the 4 HDMI connectivity options that come with this TV support HDMI 2.1. And as of me reviewing this TV, this is the 65-inch variant that I have, that is priced at about 1 lakh to 1,03,000 rupees. And the 55-inch variant is priced at 70,000 rupees as of me making this video, but I have seen it go even lower. So for about 1 lakh rupees, is this 65-inch mini LED TV really worth it? And the short answer is yes, but actually stay tuned to this video to know all the details, the pros and the cons of this TV, because yes, while it is priced at about 1 lakh rupees, it does come with a few compromises which we are going to get to. So let's get the simple stuff out of the way first. This TV is working on LG's WebOS. We are currently at WebOS 25, and during the 2-3 weeks that I had this TV, I did get a couple of updates, and LG is very good with the updates for their TVs. You can rest assured that you are going to get 5 years of updates on these TVs without any hassles, and the UI is actually fairly smooth. If you're someone that's going to use the UI of the TV, I didn't notice any major lag, so to speak, or something that you would, let's say, see on a Google TV. It got the job done quite well. Now we are going to get started with the picture quality of this TV first, and like I said, it supports all major HDR formats including Dolby Vision and HDR10. Now a very cool thing about this TV is a picture and sound wizard that it has, which we will get to in the AI section. You can check out the timestamps below if you want to jump there, but I'm going to tell you the traditional settings that I use when I reviewed this TV. So the picture preset was cinema or cinema home, depending on the lighting condition in your room. I would say pick either one of these two, but the rest of the settings actually can remain the same. So the panel brightness should be at 100%. Put the auto dynamic contrast off. Put the local dimming at high. Now the auto dynamic contrast, you can set this to high if you feel that the darks in some of the dark scenes are too dark, but since this is not an OLED, I found that leaving the auto dynamic contrast off actually made the world of a difference for my use cases. But I would suggest that you guys switch between off and the extreme high. Whichever setting works for you works best. Again, it's dependent on the lighting conditions in the room. I kept local dimming to high, the motion eye care off, and in the clarity settings I went to true motion and put it off. Real cinema, you can leave this on if you like. I kept it on, off, subject to movies, but this one really doesn't matter so much. So those were my settings when I was consuming content using the native built-in app of these TVs. But if, like me, you are going to be using an external device, let's say something like an Apple TV box, then there are some settings that I think you absolutely need to change, because these don't necessarily change automatically. You do get a pop-up to let you go and change some of these settings, but you need to go to General, then go to the external devices, go to HDMI settings, and then switch the following on or off. So allow 444 pass-through. This allows for the full 444 chroma pass-through from an external device. Switch on the Dolby Vision toggle which says Dolby Vision PC, and go into the HDMI deep color settings and switch this to 4K. This is going to ensure that the TV is going to receive the maximum input that it can from an external device to display on the TV. Now let's actually jump into the meat of the matter, which is how content looks on this TV, and I can tell you that overall content looks absolutely sublime. Let's take a movie like Top Gun Maverick, right? You have this dogfight scene at the end where you have the characters talking to each other and also just maneuvering the plane. The details are actually very clear, and if you notice that in this sequence, the pilots are talking to their command center, which is like in this dark room with just a blue and a red color palette that's there sometimes depending on what's happening in there. And the darks look actually pretty dark. It looks really nice. Same is the thing with a movie like Ready Player One. I can't show you the footage for copyright reasons, of course, but the race at the 13-minute mark has all the cars flying from left to right. You have different dynamic colors and environments. It has a very unique color palette, and that movie also looks extremely enjoyable on this TV. The Dark Knight is a great example, where Batman goes into Hong Kong to kidnap Lau, and that entire sequence is in the night. And again, I can't show you that for copyright reasons, but I can tell you that the experience of that is also very good. You can make out all the chinks in Batman's armor, and this is one of those sequences that makes me realize that it's time for me to probably upgrade this OLED that I have because of black crushing. This OLED is from 2019 and I can see a little bit of black crushing out here, but on this QNED mini LED TV there was no black crushing in a movie like The Dark Knight, which just goes to show that this TV is great for content consumption in a brightly lit room as well as in the night. Now, some of you who are extremely sensitive to light bleeding may notice some light bleeding in this TV. I didn't notice it at all, but I have read a couple of reviews and comments where people have been speaking about this. I have a very simple solution for this. Keep a light on in the room, which is some bias lighting, nothing that's directly reflecting on the TV. And if it's on in the room, you are going to get a pretty good experience and you will not notice that light bleeding on the TV. So that's just one suggestion. Another film I saw a couple of sequences was from Extraction on Netflix. And as you can see from the footage that I'm showing, the movie actually looks very, very good. It looks smooth enough without any of the motion smoothing being applied to it. Now, the settings that I spoke of at the beginning of the HDR section is also the same settings that are applicable for the SDR content, with a couple of differences. Now, if you're going to watch a movie, right, like let's say Mission Impossible or Spider-Man, let's start with Mission Impossible. It's in HD SDR out here, and the motion and the quality of the colors in this movie look absolutely fantastic. You have Tom Cruise whizzing on this bike from left to right. The skin tones look natural at the backdrop of this desert, and even the other elements from the motorcycle to the clothes have very good colors. Spider-Man, the reds and the blues and the yellows in this sequence are slightly punchier than what you would find on a Sony TV in the cinema preset, but they're not so oversaturated like you would find on, let's say, a Samsung TV. So yeah, if you think Sony's gives you more natural and slightly more muted colors, which is not a bad thing if you want more natural colors, but in this LG TV, they just punch it up that much more to give it slightly more vibrance, which is very enjoyable when you're consuming content, right? And all of this is in the cinema or cinema home preset. But if you move to standard everyday television content, right? Young Sheldon is a good example of the kind of colors you'd expect if you watch a lot of TV shows, if you watch a lot of news, or just everyday content from OTT apps or a set-top box. In this case, you can actually change the standard preset. It gives you a slightly more cooler color palette, but that's okay because it does make the content look that much richer, vibrant, and more immersive. So yeah, just change from cinema to the standard preset and keep all the other settings the same, and you should be good to go on this TV. The LG has been marketing this TV as an AI TV, and there is a dedicated AI button on the remote control. More on the remote control in a bit, but when you long press that button, it basically acts as the voice controls, right? I did give it all forms of commands like, play Stranger Things on Netflix, or switch to HDMI 3, or open the brightness settings, and it recognized the Indian accent, the Indian voice very easily, very well. Really no complaints out here. I really didn't use it that much because I don't use the voice controls on my remote control. I prefer to navigate it manually. But that's just me. If you're using voice controls, this AI button is just basically you asking your TV to do something rather than actually going and changing certain settings manually. So it's great and it works. But where it actually works really well is this AI picture and AI sound wizard. Now, in the AI picture wizard, what it's going to do, it's going to show you a series of 6 images. It's going to generate these images in real time is what the app says, but every time I switched on this picture wizard, it gave me the same set of images. So I don't know, but anyway, the images basically in real time kind of just see the kind of color palette that you like. Like if you like something that's warmer, it's going to give you that that picture preset, right? It's going to be customized to the images that you select, which is actually very unique. So if you as a person are attuned to liking certain types of colors or certain warmth or colors moving slightly more punchier or more vivid, you can choose that without actually wondering, oh, I'm playing it in vivid, and people say don't play content in vivid. It's not going to give you a name to the preset. It's just going to say picture wizard. Same for the sound, right? There's the audio wizard, and if you go into the audio wizard setting, it's going to give you these sounds at different tones, different pitches, different bass levels, and you can just listen to it, and whatever you like, select that one. And that's how most of the content is going to sound and look, and it actually worked really well. If you're someone that wants to just pick a set of images that you like and have the rest of your content represented as you like it, it's going to be great. Now the beauty is that this setting is available on certain older LG TVs as well. I have an LG G2, and on that, when I got the software update for this picture wizard, I actually went through the settings in a pitch dark room, picked the images that I like, and in certain content that I watch on my G2, I found that the blacks were slightly more dimmer and crushed than I would like to watch it in shows like, for example, Jack Ryan on Prime Video, right? But when I went through the picture wizard settings, it actually picked settings which are at a slightly brighter level. The blacks were slightly more elevated, but it didn't look bad. I could at least make out all the details, and that's what's important, right? So this AI picture and AI sound wizard works really, really well. The others in your family or people who you watch TV with may not like the color palette that you do, and that's where the discrepancy will happen, and you can go back to Cinema, Standard or Vivid or any other preset. But if you're consuming content alone, hey, use the picture wizard. It actually is one of those things that works really, really well. Moving over to the sound. Now, we are going to talk about sound and then for gaming. But before we get into the sound, let me just give you a taste of some of the copyright-free music and some gaming clips so you can hear a demo.
You might see me in a black Mustang, no cap, I leave for the back door in a black factory. See me in the Maybach, leg back with a ting ting and back changing. Look at that! Yeah!
Oh, a day's work. Maybe needs vitamin.
Okay, so now that you've heard a taste of the sound, this is the only department where I feel that the TV could have done better. It has 20 watts of sound output, and for everyday content consumption, it's fine. The thing is that I had to pump the volume to 24, 25 to be able to make out all the definitions, a bit of the channel separation, a bit of the bass. But I'm someone that likes to use the TV speakers at a lower volume if I'm, let's say, playing a game at night or watching a movie at night, and I don't want to use the soundbar or any audio accessories, or maybe don't want to wear headphones. And I feel that the TV could do a lot better with the sound output. It's not bad, like you can make out the dialogues are pretty clear. Like any other TV, it lacks bass, but if you are just going to watch the quick movie or you're just going to watch some TV shows or watch some news, you can make do with the TV speakers. But I highly recommend you pair it with a soundbar. I recently reviewed an LG soundbar on this channel which is made for the QNED TV. And the reason is that the soundbar comes with brackets that fit seamlessly at the back of the QNED TV, and the soundbar can be placed on that bracket, giving you a more seamless experience. So hey, if you guys want to check out a soundbar, go check out that LG soundbar review that you can probably marry with this TV. Now, coming to gaming, which is probably one of the best experiences I've had on this TV. The gaming experience on this TV is just absolutely sublime. When you connect the PS5 to the TV for the first time, it is going to give you that little sun which you need to, kind of adjust the brightness settings and all. Once you're done with that, I usually use a game like Dirt 5, which is mastered in HDR so that I can actually make out where the TV and the console spoke to each other properly. And the gaming experience was really good. In a game like Dirt 5, you can make out the bright highlights of the sun. You can make out all the details. And I thought that the experience of this TV was slightly better than what I got on this B9 OLED that I've had since 2019, right? And the reason for that is a game like Mafia: The Old Country. Mafia: The Old Country is a very beautiful game. It has very beautiful specular highlights in HDR. It's one of the few games that's mastered really, really well in HDR. And as you can see, you have these HDR settings and toggles. And when you're walking around town and it's the daytime, you have this bright highlight coming from the sun above you and these shadows in the beautiful towns that are there in the game. And the experience overall is absolutely fantastic. If you're a gamer, and you want a TV with 4K, 120 Hz support for VRR, G-Sync, FreeSync, then you can definitely consider this one for the price point of about 1 lakh rupees for the 65-inch variant. Moving over to a game like Spider-Man. Yes, like I said in the Spider-Man Homecoming section of this video, the reds and blues do look slightly punchier, but it is just that much more immersive, right? If you're someone that wants a very nice, bright display to give you great colors and great specular highlights, then this is the TV for you. Spider-Man 2 is a great example of how good this game looks in the day and the night. Gran Turismo is yet another game that was just an absolutely sublime experience from a visual perspective. I wish the speakers of this TV were slightly better to have me immersed in the audio as well, but hey, I put on headphones and I really enjoyed GT7. Same for Ratchet and Clank with the clinks and clanks of Ratchet moving around sound okay, but the visuals on this TV look absolutely sublime, and the mini LED local dimming actually comes to life when you play a game like Ori, where Ori is in the middle, bright all around. Especially when you attack an enemy, you have these bright highlights that just pop out on this TV, especially if you're playing a game in the middle of the night, which is absolutely dark. Same for Gears 5, you have great explosions, you have great colors, even this dark sequence where this game, the section that I use, you're coming from a dark room into this room with the enemies, all the details in the dark room are visible, giving a great experience. And same for Doom the Dark Ages, the low latency of this TV is absolutely great if you are someone that likes playing shooters. Again, I wish the sound was a little better. But yeah, if you're someone that's looking for a gaming TV to marry with your headphones or a great soundbar, it is easy to recommend this LG TV. Last but not least is, of course, the remote control, which is actually completely redesigned. I have the older LG remote right here, and the new remote does not have this curved design. You still get the pointer on the screen that you can use, but this ergonomic was designed for the pointer. The new ergonomics are more of a traditional rectangular remote control. I'm okay with either of them. I anyways never use the pointer feature so much. The good thing is that the D-pad and the wheel in the middle is not so indented into the remote anymore, making it easier to use for directional buttons. And okay, because this remote also does not have any dedicated buttons for play, pause, or any playback control. So I miss that, but at least the directional buttons and the wheel are better. You get some OTT hotkeys, you get a dedicated AI button, which is the voice button, settings button, but there is no dedicated button to change the input source. You have to go into the LG hub button, which is the top left button on the remote control that you can use. And that actually gets you into this LG IoT UI, where you also have the input sources, but you could just use the voice and say switch to HDMI 1, 2 or 3, and that will also work. It's just a double step, but I miss a dedicated source button. Otherwise, it gets the job done really well. So what's my verdict of this TV, right? I mean, when I was reviewing this TV, I found it really hard to find a 65-inch TV priced at about 1 lakh rupees, giving me mini LED backlighting, a 4K display with 144 Hz refresh rate. I mean, the 65-inch variant of this TV finds itself at a very good sweet spot, because a competitor like the Bravia 5 is available at the same price, but for a 55-inch variant, and over there you only get two HDMI 2.1 ports and a refresh rate of 120 Hz maximum in case you're a PC gamer and you want to go beyond 120 Hz. So, and I really couldn't find anything else in the 65-inch screen space, especially from the big three like the Sony, LG, Samsung. This TV finds itself at a great sweet spot, giving you a very, very, very good display with very good color outputs, great for gaming, great for content consumption, very good build, easy to use remote control, nice user interface. And if you're going to put this TV on a tabletop, you get 2 feet which have 2 different positions, one slightly more inwards, one slightly more outwards based on your TV cabinet setup. All the ports are nicely laid out on one side with just the optical and the LAN port at the bottom, easy to reach even if you wall mount this TV. So yeah, this TV is fairly great overall, and I just like to address a few comments that I have been reading about this TV in some online reviews where people have been speaking about light bleeding and about the black's not looking very dark. So 2 things. One is it's very dependent on the type of content you're consuming. If you're just going to look at the UI of an app which is going to have a little bit of bleeding, it could be just the black background of that app isn't great. Try consuming some content. Don't put on some test content. Just watch a movie or a TV show like you would. And as far as light bleeding is concerned, yes, just go into the local dimming settings and set it to high. And if you still feel there is a little bit of light bleeding, which there shouldn't be at this level, especially if you're consuming good quality content, switch on a small light in your room, which is some form of bias lighting, and that should sort it out. But yeah, otherwise, LG has done a pretty great job. If you're someone that doesn't want to get on the OLED bandwagon, then this is definitely a TV that you can consider. So there you have it, guys. That was my review of this TV. As always, you can let me know what you thought of this video in the comment section below. And for more from the world of technology, you can subscribe to the channel. This is me, Samir, signing off. I will catch you in another video. It's goodbye for now.